candy.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Penny Candy. I am your host, Damian Nova, and today we are doing another Soul Ranked with the incomparable and sinfully underrated Rahsaan Patterson. I don't know if you've been watching my Soul Ranks, but it's basically me ranking their entire body of work, not against other artists, and it's ranked in accordance to how it hit my ear at the time, or at the times that it came out. We will not be doing any remix albums or live albums or imports or anything like that. We will be doing the albums as they came out in the original form that they came out in. Now, some of them came out in the UK, so there were different versions of it there than there were in the US. It's not enough of a difference for me to not include them on the list. It's strange because I feel like Rahsaan has had more music than this. I don't know why I was thinking. Maybe because of all the other shit. But I really thought he had done like 12 albums. Maybe because Rahsaan was approved by Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan has pretty much endorsed Rahsaan Patterson since day one. He is one of Chaka's, well, me and Sandra call a very specific group of people, a group of singers, Chaka's girls. And Rahsaan is probably the only male. He's in line with people like Vesta and Melissa Morgan and people that sound like Chaka, but aren't. But he's also written for Brandy, Tevin Campbell, Dionne Warwick, Ice Cube. Like it really runs the gamut in his body of work. He also did a quick stint with a band, well, with a collective. I wouldn't call it a band, but with a collective called Sugar Rush Beat Company, and that was with Ida Core out of the UK. And it was dope. It was very quick. You know, it was one of those, oh, well, let's make some music situations, and I really enjoyed it, but I will not be including it on this list. So anyway, I'm gushing because I'm a fan. Also, this is going to be sort of like my Anita Baker one. He has not put out a bad album. There's not one bad album in his catalog. It varies a little wilder than Anita Baker, but they're all great. It's all great bodies of work. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So let's get to ranking the albums of Rahsaan Patterson. At number 7, I have After Hours. After Hours is probably his most popular album, and I would say popular in the sense of the consensus is that this is his best album. And I can't argue with that. I think a lot of people really enjoyed this record for a lot of reasons. One, it's a bit of a throwback, but it's also kind of dated. I really love pretty much the whole thing, but there are songs I definitely can skip. He can sing the alphabet. He's one of those singers that could really sing the alphabet, and I'm okay. But if I have to look at it from a objective and lyrical standpoint, it's a little boring for me on the whole. Like as a complete record, it's boring for me. Again, it's in my playlist. Like there are songs off of it that are on my playlist, but as a full body of work, I don't know. It's like the music you can play, you know, if you work at like Ralph Lauren and this the music that's playing in the background. Like it's not unlistenable. It's all solid R&B. I do like So Hot. I do like The One For Me. I do like Burnin'. Burnin' is really good live. And this is something I'm going to say a lot. Rahsaan Patterson is best live.
But I wanted to remain attracted to the blazing as it slows to the creep. Got me burning. Don't you know that you
He pretty much gives it to us, you know, the way it's written on the tracks, but a lot of this stuff sounds way better live. but I do recommend the album. I recommend going out and getting it, and taking a listen for yourself. Maybe you put it higher on your list. At number 6, oh my God, okay, reflux. At number 6, I have The Ultimate Gift. Now, the reason The Ultimate Gift is at number 6 and not number 7 is because it's a bit of a wide swing. It's a Christmas record. Listen, I don't like Christmas albums. I don't like albums that have every song on it has the word Christmas in it. It's so repetitive. And if one more person does Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas, we don't need any more versions of that.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful. Don't you understand? My brain is full to bursting.
No more versions. He sounds good singing it. The track is, it's a unique twist vocally, but it's the same damn song. We got it from so many people, and I just don't need it anymore. The songs that he's not covering, the ones that are the originals on this album, really stand out, and they're unique, and they're uniquely Rahsaan, and it's kind of experimental, this album. The one song, Angel, is just vocalists, like it's just vocals. And it's beautiful, and that's something that I expect out of Sandra St. Victor or anybody that is high art, especially, or Nona Hendrix, or I don't know, Joan Armatrading or somebody like that. We expect people like that to do these high art just vocal tracks. And even Toni Braxton Shantae Moore has done them, and I think this falls into that category. It's solid. It's a solid Christmas song, I guess. It's just called Angel, and it's vocalists. I don't know that I would qualify it as a Christmas song, but sure. Peace and Joy and Christmas at My House, which is a house music song. It's a Christmas song.
When I was a kid, I used to wanna let my mama hear. On Christmas Eve, yeah, she pretended Santa Claus would give.
I don't hate this idea, and I think it's executed really, really well. It's sort of this funk house Christmas song. It's not bad. I don't hate this Christmas album. Maybe I'm liking Christmas music more than I think I do. It's low on the list because there are just songs on it where it's just the covers, and then the songs where he says Christmas like 20 times. I just, if you like Christmas music, if you like Christmas soul music, especially if you enjoyed Anita Baker's Christmas album, you will enjoy this. At number 5, I have Bluephoria. Now, Bluephoria was the first time that I guess I discovered that he went indie. It sounds like it. It is an experiment in EDM and electro, and it's got some things on it. There's a small documentary that he filmed in the making of Bluephoria, and it's actually quite an interesting watch. He's so soft-spoken, so humble.
Even in the midst of the trials and tribulations and the darkness and the light, it's just really a human experience. There's going to be pain, there's going to be joy, there's going to be darkness, there's going to be light.
His music and his vocal ability dictates that he should be a lot more like grand, but he's not. He's actually quite laid back. It's got some great lyrics on it. I think it's lyrically one of the best things he's ever done. It is wildly experimental. It's got stuff from, it's got elements from previous projects, but then it takes some hard left turns. Easier Said Than Done is probably one of the most easily accessible while still embracing the newness of what he was trying to do on this project. It was definitely a more accessible project because he was, like I said, he felt more indie. So it was definitely more like, oh, you're more indie now, so we can talk to you. You're on Facebook, we can talk to you about this project. And it was actually a really cool experience. The music itself is hit or miss for those people that really love Rahsaan. Ghost and the title track, Bluephoria, are the best songs on it. And they are probably the most experimental. Ghost actually has elements of thriller in it.
And I'm done. I'm going home now. Where are my keys?
I mean, the name of the song is Ghost, and Michael Jackson did a song called Ghost, so maybe. Bluephoria is a interesting listen. I would not play it for somebody who is just being introduced to Rahsaan Patterson. At number 4, I have Heroes and Gods. Heroes and Gods just came out in 2019. It is probably his most complete record. And when I say the most complete, it has elements of pretty much everything that he is known to do. It has elements of the EDM. It has elements of funk and jazz and R&B. It has all the elements that we're used to from Rahsaan Patterson. However, I do believe that it would have benefited from a part 1 and a part 2, because not that I'm saying that all his albums are overly long, because they all run about 13 songs deep. Bluephoria, I think, is 10, but I think they all run about 13 songs deep. This one, for some reason, feels overly long. I feel like if Heroes and Gods was split up into 2 different albums, like part 1 is Heroes, part 2 is Gods, and he split them up and created 2 shorter albums with very distinct sounds, this would have been a lot more palatable for me. Like I said, he hasn't done a bad album. This is not a bad album. It's just, for me, it's disjointed, where he goes from a Prince groove, you know, and there's a couple Prince grooves on this album. It's very Princey. And I'll get to Prince in another video. That one's going to be long. It does sort of fall into the Prince energy that here's a song, and then the next song is nothing like the song you heard before it. Prince's music, especially in the later years, was disjointed in that sense. I think it made more sense in his earlier work because they were so much shorter. When I think about albums like the Black Album or the Batman soundtrack, those albums are a lot shorter than something like the Gold Experience or the Love Symbol album, which is just a list, just songs. It's just a Prince went in the booth and just created. And that's what it feels like Heroes and Gods is to me. A ton of good songs on it. I think there's nothing technically wrong with the album. He sounds great. He sounds more mature. I love the way his voice is sounding the older he gets. And I appreciate this, but I do think it should have been split up. What I do recommend is the remix album that was done almost immediately after it well, not immediate. I think that was like 2021 when he released the remix album. Or was it this year? It was this year. Time means nothing. If you like house music, because house music is on the resurgence it was never gone, but it is definitely on a resurgence now. And his album, that remix album of Heroes and Gods is definitely something you should get into if you love house. It can be easily played with Beyonce's Renaissance and you wouldn't skip a thing. Like, just put both albums on shuffle. It's great. The songs I recommend off of this are Silly Love Fool. You know, it's going to be the stuff that reads a lot more Rahsaan than Prince. So Silly Love Fool, Sweet Memories, Wide Awake, I Try, which is probably one of my favorites. That's the thing I Try is probably one of my favorite songs from Rahsaan Patterson, like, period, hands down.
And I cry and I try and I try and I cry and I. So I cry and I try and I try and I cry and I
really like the album and I listen to it often, but there's definitely some skippable stuff. He does a Luther Vandross cover that I'm not wild about. And listen, it's hard to cover Luther. it's hard, and you have to be in a good space for that. But Heroes and Gods is definitely worth your time. Please go support Heroes and Gods. It's actually really good, but also go get that remix thing. That thing is tough. At number 3, I have Rahsaan Patterson from 1997. Now, this was his debut album, and it is arguably one of the best debut albums from any artist ever. Man, like the maturity in this young man's voice. I mean, he was young. We're about the same age, and he was young when he put this out, and it is really, really good. It was around the time he wrote for Brandy and Tevin and all that, and you can hear, if you go back and listen to their music after listening to this album, you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely Rahsaan's work, you know? It does have a signature. It is a throwback. It is very, very 70s. It is very, very early 80s. It is the introduction to that sound for us. Had the sound been done before? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why he was getting, you know, compared to Stokely, because Mint Condition was very much doing this type of music. But there's something simpler about Rahsaan, what Rahsaan does with that sound, especially when you talk about his bass lines. He narrows a lot of that down and makes just, it's sort of like comparing Chaka Khan to Parliament. Yes, Parliament is funky as fuck and they're all over the place. But there's something that Chaka does where she narrows it down to this is the line, these are the beats, this is the harmony, blah blah blah. And that's something Rahsaan does really, really well on his first album.
Ain't never had a bad love, no, feels so good in all my life, yeah. I realize that I love you, and I don't ever to say goodbye, because it wasn't the first time you've been blowing my mind. You got me up inside.
Cold vocals, cold. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, God damn, these vocals are cold, like cold. And it influenced, like, I'm not ashamed to say that he's one of my biggest influences vocally, but that's like saying Chaka is one of my biggest influences vocally, because he is very much a part of that crew. So of course, this album really, really, it sort of came out of nowhere, and it's spectacular. Stop By, of course, So Fine, Where You Are. All those songs are really what you want to hear out of your soul music artist. And it holds up today. If you want to introduce somebody to Rahsaan, this is the album. This is the album. I can't say that for a lot of other artists. This is his first project, and this is the one you start at. At number 2, I have Love in Stereo from 1999. Now, this was his follow-up album. This is his sophomore album, and it's kind of perfect. It is a perfect soul record. It expands the idea of who this artist is. What do we expect out of Rahsaan Patterson? The lyricism on this and the music really does meld well together on this project, and it's perfect. Why isn't it at number 1? Well, I think while it establishes his sound, he has really moved on in a lot of ways from that. If you listen to Heroes and Gods and then go back to listen to Love in Stereo, it is almost night and day in a lot of ways. The elements are there, but it's very different. I didn't hear it until, I don't know, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was hard keeping up because it was so many R&B artists coming out in the late 90s that were putting out exceptional work. This is easily his Mama's Gun, his Voodoo, his Embrya. Songs like The Day and If It Ain't Love are staples in R&B to me. These are songs that I wish I wrote. So right, Get Here, like there's music on this album that I really, really wish that I wrote. And I'm kind of jealous that he got to this album before me. And at number 1, I have Wines and Spirits. This album is genius. It is 100%, 1000% unfuckwithable. This was Rahsaan at his grown period. We got him in with a gray beard on the album cover, and he said, I am no longer hiding behind all this other shit. This is what it is. This is who I am. And it is glorious. This album it can be listened to on repeat, and you will still hear new stuff that he does on this project.
I feel like dancing on clouds and getting high. Cool breeze on my scalp blowing back time. Found me down, come hither my child. Let's work it out.
The lyrics are more mature. The vocals are more mature. This is when the sound that was established now sounds like it smoked a couple packs of cigarettes and had some liquor. It is jazzy, it is funky, it is rock. It is all those things that you expect out of a funk artist. Rahsaan Patterson solidifies himself with this album as a genuine funk artist. It is Prince. It is Isaac Hayes. It is Joan Armatrading. It is Tracy Chapman. It is Shaka Khan. It is so many things, and you hear the references on it. You hear his influences deep, but it is signaturely, that's not a word, him. It is 100% him. And I think that's why it's number 1 on my list. It is not like, oh, well, I'm trying this or I'm trying that. This is a brilliant exercise in musicianship. This is it. This is it. This is the album that if you say, hey, I'm gonna throw on this Rahsaan Patterson album, you reach for Wines and Spirits. Not to the group of people that's never heard him before. You reach for this for the people that haven't heard this album. This album is perfect. It is literally perfect. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. The way he starts this motherfucking album is astonishing. Like the way he starts it, the first 5 songs are so good. Like they're so good. And they all kind of roll together. There is a journey. This album is a journey. Cloud 9, Delirium, No Danger, Oh Lord, Pitch Black, all of them. Listen to the whole thing. The whole thing is brilliant. He deserved way more flowers for this album than he got. And in general, Rahsaan Patterson deserves way more flowers than he gets. It's difficult finding live stuff online that he's done. He has a live concert. I think it's on DVD, and I think it's available free on YouTube. That thing. I don't think he realizes the span of his influence. And there's a really great interview if you want to go check it out. There's a really great interview with Christian John Wilkane, just happened like this year, and it's actually a really, really cool interview. And he talks about sexuality and the industry and where he fits and all that stuff. And it's actually a really, really good interview. And I really suggest going to check it out. I'm gonna say really one more time. Tell me what you think of my list. I'm sure you have your own list as it pertains to Rahsaan. And if you don't, and you haven't heard of any of these albums, or you have only heard of a few of them, please go check out the rest of these. It is worth your time. It is worth a listen. It is real 100% stank, funk, folk, jazz, R&B. And I can't gush on it enough. I love you, Rahsaan. And check me out next week. Well, not next week. I don't know when I'm going to do the next one. I don't know. I'll do the next one soon. I don't know. These are hard.
Candy.